What's up, my Yu-Gi-Oh nerds? Today we're going to be cooking up a new deck. Well, not really new, but this one's a pretty cheap deck if you're looking for something competitive that can win and has topped a few times. And, well, really you might make some enemies with this one. This style of deck is really not fun to play against, but makes it pretty fun games. And what I'm talking about is Dinomorphia. So what this deck is, it's all about paying life points to make your trap effects go off. And once you get to a certain point, you want to have a monster on the field, and its effect is your opponent, their monsters on the field cannot activate their effects if their attack is higher than your life points. So you want to get your life points down to little to nothing. Like I've played games where I've gotten down to like 30 life points, and it's just kind of silly. And what's bad about it, is you play lots of counter traps. So hopefully all of your effects are going off when they're supposed to. And that's what's kind of frustrating to a lot of people, is a lot of this deck you can't chain anything to, you can't interact with, because most people are only playing maybe 3 counter traps themselves. And it's a trap deck. People don't like playing against trap decks. But I have played this one recently, and it's fun, and you can steal some wins. It's actually got a really good matchup towards the higher meta game. Malice and Ryzeal for sure. It's got great matchups versus, because they can't chain to your effects usually. So you're pretty good, but you can get just OTK'd by some random rogue deck that just makes one big monster. Because like I said, all your life points are going 0. So this I'll show you the list we got, and like I said, cheap. These are almost all of them are reprints. The most expensive deck in the card, most expensive card in the deck is got to be Chaos Angel, and that's like a, if you want to play it, it's not a mandatory. It has come up before, but like if you can't afford this card, it no way affects the stability of the deck. Alright, so what I've got for this one is I play 3 Theresa. These are the monsters. You're only playing a few monsters. What this one does is it lets you set Dinomorphia traps from deck to the field. It's his only effect. Well, if you activate his effect and you're below 2,000 life points, he gains 500 attack. Doesn't ever really come up if these guys are on the field. It's really bad because your life points are going to be really low, and these guys, even with added effects, they're easily walked over. And Diplos, so he's almost the opposite. When he's normal or special, you foolish a card, foolish a spell or trap. Foolish a Dinomorphia spell or trap to the graveyard. And I'll show you why that's actually important. You have cards that can copy cards that are in the graveyard. Alright, for the most, you gotta have these. These are the biggest 3 ofs, is gonna be Domain and Frenzy. These are your fusions. And Frenzy lets you use monsters from your extra deck, which is perfect. Domain, it's kind of like a branded fusion for your deck. You can use your field, hand, or deck to do it. Frenzy is by far the better one, because almost all your monsters, you want to be using monsters from your extra deck. But both of these are definitely the best cards in your deck. And then we're going to play 1 Intact. So it's a counter trap to a monster effect. And we play 2 Intact. Sorry. 2 Intact. It's comes up more than this one. So Sonic, this is a spell and trap negate. So these ones you have to control Dinomorphia monsters, but you usually have at least one. And they are counter traps, and it's a pay half your life points to destroy. And that's the same with the fusion cards. Everything in this deck, everything Dinomorphia in this deck is pay half your life points. And then we've got Brute. What this effect is destroy 1 Dinomorphia, destroy another monster on the field. So it's some trade, but well, again, half your life points. And then there's Alert. Again, pay half your life points, but then you special summon 2 Dinomorphia monsters to the field as long as they equal up to level 8, but they're only 4s. So I don't know why that has to be specified. So yeah, helps like your domain be live again because you need to have monsters on the field. And then we're going to play our searchers. We're going to play Prosperity. So I play Prosperity because it's really good to find the one card you need. Like drawing extra cards in this deck isn't the greatest, but like picking out a card, Prosperity is the best, and you don't use a whole lot of your extra deck. Well, besides the Dinomorphia monsters, which is like half. So it's really, really good for finding the card you need. There's lots of just like draw effects we could put in here, like Extravagance, but I don't think that, I don't know. Better, by far. And then we're going to play 3 Duality for the same basic thing, and then same thing, we're not going to be special summoning the turn we activate this, so it's not a big deal. Play 3 ofs. And same thing, getting to pick your spell, a whole lot more significant in this deck, because if you do get burned, you're not playing the game. Alright, and for the non-engine, we're playing 3 Judgment. As of course, pay half your life points. This whole deck, pay your life points. Same thing with Strikes. And Thunders, we're playing 3 of these. These are the best counter traps for your deck. Everything is pay half your life points, negate it. Thunder, destroying a card and destroy another card in the same column. It's just a better strike. I don't know why more decks don't play this. It's phenomenal. Especially because when you're setting up your board, you know which one's which, and you can just steer clear of it, no problem. So this card, this will make the deck a little bit more expensive. Again, it's not a mandatory, but if you're looking for this deck to be as competitive as you can, playing 3 Dominus Impulse, because you're always going to have your traps in the grave. This thing just is so live all the time. If you're not playing something like this, like even like Solemn Warnings and stuff, pay life points to stop things from happening. They're not the best. That's probably what I would put in place of Impulse if you can't afford the Impulse. And we've got 2 Daruma Cannon. So the next cards with these Daruma Cannons and stuff, these are going to be how your deck lives until you can get into your engine. So we've got 2 Daruma Cannon, perfect in this format. 3 Ferret Flames. So it is awesome when you draw these late game, when you have like 500 life points, and you can just flip one of these and your opponent just has to shuffle everything back to the deck. It's super nice. Then we've got 2 Trap Trick. So this is perfect because it gets you into your fusion cards, or into the Ferret Flames, or into D-Barrier. So I always play 2, 3 I think is too much, especially because you can only activate 1 effect after this. This is good, like a last-minute trap on your opponent's turn, so you know what you're going into and you can search the right thing, like a barrier or your domain or your frenzy. So Trap Trick, just more consistency, but I think at 3 it's a little too cloggy. Alright, that's for the main. Now for the extra deck, Chaos Angel. So first monster you're probably going to make is the Dinomorphia Gina, and we're playing 3 of this card. This is just to, these ratios are to make sure your combos go off more, I don't know. It's easier to do the combos again and again and again. Hopefully it's a one and done thing and you can kind of control the game state from there. But if you do have to go into it, I think I play 3 of these. Anyway, so this is a 6, and then your Dinomorphia monsters are 4s, so then you can make the Chaos Angel. What this card does is it lets you copy a Dinomorphia monster or trap in the grave, so this is really good. So if you have your frenzies and stuff in there, you use your frenzy, you make this targets your frenzy, and then we make Rexstrom with it. So Rexstrom's effect is, it's the skill drain of the deck, basically. So as long as your opponent's monsters have higher attack than your life points, they can't activate their effects. It's only on monsters they control, so they can still like graveyard in hand and stuff. It's basically skill drain. And I play 3 of these as well. Then I play 2 Stealthburgias. So Frenzy lets you use monsters in your extra deck, and this one doesn't really do anything, but it is a Dinomorphia fusion monster, so this is a good 2 of, like, you can play 3 again, like, then your fusions are just always going to go off. You always have targets, but then you don't have anything extra. So I do have Super Poly targets, because Super Poly is great. Evil Sword, Dolka, and Lagia. So again, like you make 2 level 4s, you kind of know what your opponent's got for a board. You get to pick, mix, match whichever one you need. Then a Masquerain and an SP Little Knight. Basically, if your deck can make them and you've got the room, you play these cards. Like, I don't have to make much more of an explanation than that. Alright, what we have for our side. So this is a fun little tech my friend told me about. I got on it a little bit. It's a Coming Song Morganite. So if you know you're going to be able to attack first, which is funny because you want to go first to control the game state. So you want this going first, which is actually better going second card in most decks, but this, your monsters get to attack twice. You can't use monster effects in hand, but you have no monster effects in hand. So it's really good because this deck puts up a fearsome board, but it doesn't have a lot of like attack overpower. You almost always have to go at least 2 or 3 turns in to kill, and this really speeds that up. And Lava Golem, when you know you're going second, Lava Golem's great because again, you're not special summon anything on your turn. So like at best, like you kind of give up your 1 normal summon, but you only play 5 monsters, and those monsters are almost all fusion material anyways. So Lava Golem's great. Shifter, if you know you're going second, Shifter them. They go first. You're setting 5 passing anyways. They play under Shifter. You don't have to. Another D barrier. This one, I don't know, like, again, techie cards, wherever you're playing at. I'm playing against a lot of Ryziel. So barrier, it comes up like every game. 3 Super Poly. Again, same thing with the Lava Golem. You know you're going second. It's a good board wipe that it's really hard to interact with. Like, you can't interact with it. And Evenly Matched. Again, it's a trap deck. You go second. You draw it. Clear the board. Set up your board. It's pretty basic. So this deck is super cheap. It's a lot of fun. All the expensive cards, well, they are expensive cards. I don't know why I put air quotes. All the expensive cards can be traded in for other cards that aren't expensive, and you still have a lot of fun. Like I said, this one actually didn't win. It topped a regional that I played at recently, and I keep seeing it top all over, especially when people are doing like the, what are they called? Remote duels. Oh man, I don't know, I blanked on that one so hard. I keep seeing this winning a lot, and I've got it on Master Duel, and it's fun. No one expects it. That's where this deck excels. Because you have to figure out a way to get your monsters on field to last with no effects, and your opponent, like me, would have some back row set up to stop you from attacking. Oh, and the best part, all the Dinomorphia spells and traps, they all have the effect like you can't take burn damage. You can just pitch it for burn damage, or you can pitch it for attack damage. So you can get pretty low and hold off a little bit. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Check it out. It's cheap, and you'll win.